welcome to our Moxie workshop. I have been so excited about this workshop, which feels a little backwards because mostly SEO makes me like sweat. I'm like, ugh, if this is conversation about SEO, I like tune out because I'm like, I don't understand it. Whatever you're about to say has the word optimization in it, and it like doesn't make sense to me. So I have been so excited about this workshop and have an opportunity to just understand things a little bit more. And that is why we have Moxie workshops. It is all about helping freelancers kind of level up their business in stuff and areas that it's like, I don't feel like I have anyone to ask that question to, or the people I do have, maybe they'll think it's a dumb question. This is your space for all the questions. We are connecting you to those experts and those people that you're like, man, I wish I just knew somebody who knew more about this. So we're excited about that today. I'll turn things over to Austin Church to introduce our incredible speaker for today.
Yeah, so if you have like really, really dumb SEO questions, we'll give you Liam's personal mobile number and
These, my favorite.
No, just kidding. He uses a Moxie communicator link. No. Okay. So I am very happy to introduce you all to Liam Carnahan. He is a past coaching client of mine. He has done SEO consulting work with and for Moxie. He is definitely an SEO expert. He has several courses on the subject. He has an SEO and content agency. He's just the perfect person to come here and teach us about search engine optimization. What should freelancers pay attention to? What can we safely ignore? With that, Liam, my friend, I pass the mic to you.
Thank you, Austin. And thank you, Michelle. Okay, let me just go ahead and share my screen and we can just dig right in. Can y'all see that? Looking good? Okay, thumbs up from Austin. Awesome. All right, so today we are going to talk, oops, I'm skipping ahead. Today we are going to talk about making yourself findable, and there's a lot to get through. So I'm just gonna go right in. The first thing I wanna share is just a background on me so you don't, so you know a little bit more about why I'm talking about this today. So as I said, my name is Liam Carnahan, and I actually come from a background as a writer. I got my degree in writing, and I graduated from college really wanting to be a paid writer, which is how I ended up working in my very first content marketing agency way back when SEO was like a concept that I had never heard of. I hadn't even really heard of content marketing back in 2008. Not many people had. But despite all of that, I stuck with it and ended up working in SEO and content marketing for over a decade in agencies. Eventually moved to Sydney, Australia, where I worked as the director of content for a while in an agency there. And then I got really sick of working in offices and decided to leave and start working on in 2018 as a freelancer. And then since then, basically, I have been living life as a digital nomad. So if you ever chat with me, don't get used to the background that you see behind me. I'm in a different place every few weeks. And that's been really nice. And currently, my main two gigs, I provide coaching and mentorship and training for freelancers. And I also provide SEO and content services for my clients. So the idea of being findable to me is like a core tenet of what I do, because SEO is all about making yourself findable. And like the main struggle for freelancers is making yourself findable, which is the first thing I want to talk about. So if you ask me, and if you've been feeling this way, SEO, or sorry, not SEO, freelancing in general, it's really hard to stand out right now. And it's harder than it ever has been before for a few different reasons. This year alone in 2023, there was 3 million new people who started freelancing. That brings the total number in the US up to 73.3 million different freelancers, or 36% of the population. So it ain't what it used to be. Back when I started, there was not nearly as many people trying to do this. And that just means it's become more competitive. There's a few different reasons for this. COVID was a huge one, right? A bunch of people realized they could freelance during COVID. But more recently, we've got the economy, tech layoffs driving more people into the industry, and then AI out here making everybody question what they're doing. All of these things have contributed to a bunch more people who are freelancing. It used to feel like being a big fish in a little pond, but these days it doesn't feel as much like a pond. It feels more like the ocean. And if you don't have a strategy for how to make yourself stand out, it can start to feel like you're drowning a little bit in all of the noise. So today I just want to talk through different ways that you can actually go about making yourself found through SEO or other tactics that I'm going to cover in the next few minutes. And the very first thing I want to talk about is what I call a digital home base. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this because maybe some people in here have already taken this step. But whether you're doing SEO or any other marketing strategy, I recommend that you start by making your digital home base. And just to give you a definition, it's kind of like the front office or the front door of your office. So you want to have one singular place where you drive everyone when they're looking for you. And the reason I say this is because if you're in a million different places at once and you don't have a single unifying home base, then your visibility is going to be diluted, both when it comes to SEO and just in general. And on top of that, if you're someone who is a bit hesitant to put up a website or to fill out your LinkedIn profile because you just haven't started yet, well, it's going to be almost impossible to find you if you don't have one. So the very first thing you need to do is take a moment to think about, where do I want people who are looking for me to end up? For a lot of people, that is either a website or social media. And they both work. For me, I use my personal website. And I also have what I would call like a vacation home on LinkedIn, where a lot of people find me as well. But I still drive everything back to my website because that's where a lot of people find the most information about me. When it comes to doing this, just through the people I've mentored, I've noticed there's a few things that hold people back from getting their site set up. The big one is like people are waiting for it to be perfect. And maybe this resonates with you. You're sitting there thinking, okay, I just got to make a few more edits to my website before I set it live, or I can't start posting on LinkedIn until I love my profile and it's 100% perfect. Well, the truth is it's never going to be perfect. So just set it live. That is the number one piece of advice I give to almost all of my mentees. Just go live with it. Even if there's typos, even if it's not perfect, just do it. Think of it as a forever project. I have had my website up and running now for 5 years, and I have a laundry list of things that I would like to fix about it because it's never done and it never will be done. So if you're waiting for the moment that your digital home base, whether that's LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever you want to use your website, it just is something that is going to be like your little pet. You're just always going to be fiddling with it and tweaking it and grooming it all the time. And then it's also the reason I encourage people to just go ahead is because if you're holding off on doing this, you are losing out valuable information about how to make yourself findable because you're not testing anything. You need a blog or a social media page where you can put things out in front of people and get feedback and see what resonates and see what doesn't, and then tailor your strategy of making yourself findable based on that feedback. If you don't have a singular place where you can put that stuff out there, then you are not ever going to be findable. So my recommendation, just go ahead and start with this project. Don't hold back and start gathering information about, what people think of what you're producing. Okay, so that's the basics. I've got that out of the way. You need a place to drive people. But once you have that place, how do you actually make it findable? How do you make it so that when people are searching for whatever it is you do, that they land on your digital home base? Well, the first tactic I want to talk about is SEO, or search engine optimization. Obviously, this is my bread and butter. It's how I make a lot of my money. It's how I market myself as well. And I get asked this question all the time about whether or not it will work for freelancers, because I'm an SEO freelancer and people want to know. If you know anything about SEO, you probably can guess the answer is both yes and no. That is like the answer for almost everything when it comes to SEO, which is maybe not the most useful thing. But the reason I say this is because there's kind of two factors that I would ask yourself before you decide to double down on SEO as a strategy. The first one is, are you planning on making content as part of your marketing strategy? If you want to succeed in SEO, there's no way around it. You have to produce a lot of written content. There is no such thing as SEO without written content. Fresh, unique, high quality written content published regularly. And when I mean regularly, I mean at least once a month. So if you are planning on if you're a writer, even if that's not what you do as a freelancer, but you enjoy writing, then SEO can work for you. You should at least be optimizing everything that you write, because may not show up on the first page, but optimizing it is good for a few different reasons, which I'm going to get into here. So first, ask yourself, do I plan on writing content, at least something once every month that's long form? And when I say long form, I mean probably at least 1,000 words. Most SEO content only performs around the 1,400 plus word mark. So it's a lot of writing. It's a lot to do. If you're not a writer, if you don't plan on creating written content, but you make video content and you make, image content, it's going to be hard to do SEO unless you plan on writing on top of that. So just keep that in mind. The other thing I would say is think about your niche, because like everything else, SEO has gotten a lot more competitive. If you are hoping to land on the first page for a phrase like SEO copywriter, which has thousands and thousands of searches per month on Google, I have bad news for you. It's taken. Like there are people who have been playing the SEO game for 5 or 10 years who are on the first page for that term, and they're not giving up their space anytime soon. Older websites, as long as they're good, perform better for SEO, so they have a competitive edge because they started sooner. However, if you work in an industry where things are a bit more niche, new, you're developing new products or working in a new industry, there's a good chance you could get on the first page because it's time, it's newer now, and therefore less competitive. But if neither of these things are true, if you don't plan on creating content, or if your industry is really saturated and there's already people who are ranking for all of the powerful keywords that you want to go after, maybe SEO isn't for you. However, I'm going to eat my words as soon as I turn the next slide, because to me, SEO, a lot of times when people think about search engine optimization, or you ask people, what's the point of SEO? They'll tell you, I want to be on the first page of Google, right? For this term or that term. And yeah, that is a huge part of it. It's part of what I do for my clients. But SEO is actually about making your digital home base the most engaging and accessible space on the internet for your audience. And that's big, tall order, I know. But the reason that I recommend people do learn SEO, whether or not they plan on using it as their main strategy, is because think about it this way. Google basically wants to make the best search experience and the most profitable search experience for users. So a lot of the things that you would need to do in order to optimize your content for search are things that you should be doing anyway, because they are valuable no matter what your marketing strategy is. So as I mentioned, one of these things is just making sure that your digital home base is accessible. When it comes to Google, a lot of the ranking factors have to do with things like site speed. Is the website easy to navigate? Does it load quickly? Is there a lot of content on there that's really high quality? These are things that Google looks at. If your website is loading, takes a minute to load, yeah, Google's not going to like that. You're never going to rank for anything. But guess what? You're also never going to have anybody land on your website and stay there, because people have very short attention spans. They expect websites to load quickly. That's why it's an important factor for SEO, and that's why it's an important factor for people as well. So learning how to do the fundamentals of SEO is going to help you with your audience, whether or not SEO is your full-time strategy. On top of that, as I mentioned, content production is a huge part of SEO. And the thing about that is content is pretty much the core component of every marketing strategy that you could possibly use to make yourself more findable. Email marketing, social media posting, blogging, even partnerships, if you plan on doing things like writing guest blogs and all of that kind of stuff. I'll get more into that stuff soon. That's a process of content creation. And as I mentioned, if you're creating content, there's no harm in learning how to optimize it so that it has a chance, at least, of getting some Google traffic or search traffic driven to it. And not to mention, you can then use that content on whatever channel you're planning on using, or vice versa. Take that email that you wrote that was almost 1,400 words and use ChatGPT to turn it into a really nice blog. And suddenly you have an SEO piece of content you can create. So whether or not you plan on making SEO your formal strategy, I highly recommend learning the fundamentals, because the fundamentals will teach you what people want as well as what humans want when they're searching for content on the internet. Now, what are those fundamentals? Well, if I had an hour, I would tell you, but I don't have an hour. I don't have that long. And to be honest, I don't need to, because this stuff is out there for free. The fundamentals of SEO, whatever people tell you, there's a lot of people in this industry who make it seem really complicated and make it seem like smoke and mirrors. Ignore those people. I'm telling you, as someone who's worked in this industry, it's really quite straightforward once you learn the fundamentals. And learning the fundamentals, like I said, super easy. If you're brand new to SEO, I recommend my free 60-minute course. It's just 1 hour of me talking about my favorite aspects of SEO. You could finish it, on your lunch break, and that will give you at least the foundations of what you need to know about SEO. If you've already done that, or maybe you finished the course, I would recommend going onto my website. I mean, just in general, I have a ton of blogs about SEO, and my mailing list covers it pretty extensively. But the best thing that you could probably get is my checklist, which is basically I actually created it when I was hiring writers and I was getting frustrated because they weren't always optimizing to the max. So I made these spreadsheets and now I offer them for free on my website. And basically the idea is you just have it open whenever you're writing, whenever you do your self-editing of whatever it is you want to publish on your blog. It's just tick, 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 tick. If you do all the things I mentioned, it will be optimized for search better than the vast majority of content out there. And it's a one-page document. So highly recommend you check those out if you really want to go deep into the details of what it means to optimize your content for search. So that's the gist of SEO, what I recommend doing. Again, if you're producing content, it pays to learn the fundamentals. If you're a copywriter who doesn't know SEO right now, that's a missed opportunity, because again, it's not hard to learn. You just kind of need to learn the fundamentals, but it is something that you can then use to charge more and to make more money, because people will pay more for SEO optimized content. So if you're a copywriter who doesn't focus on SEO right now, take the hour to watch this thing and then tell people that you know how to optimize for search using this checklist, and you can definitely charge more. Okay. But SEO is not the only way to make yourself findable. There's a million other channels that you can do to make yourself stand out. So SEO is a long-term strategy. That's something you need to keep in mind. So you're not going to publish a blog tomorrow and have it go to the first page anytime soon, especially if your website is young. It takes months of working, constantly producing content and tailoring that content for SEO before you'll start to see much traction. These strategies I want to go through here are ways to make yourself findable a lot faster, in my opinion. And they're not really SEO based. They're more just general tactics that I have used to get my name out there to build brand recognition. But the first thing I want to say before you start following any of these, there's kind of a mindset issue that I find people need to get into when it comes to making themselves findable. This comes from working with freelancers as a mentor and my own personal experiences. There's kind of two things that you need to get really used to doing if you're going to make yourself findable. The first is getting comfortable talking about yourself. Despite the fact that I'm sitting here talking about myself for like an hour, it still is uncomfortable, and it always has been, but I've gotten good at it through practice. If you're not someone who's used to talking about yourself, especially in a promotional way, it can feel really stressful. It can feel really uncomfortable. It can feel like you're selling yourself, which you technically are. But unfortunately, there's no way around it, because the strategies I'm going to be suggesting involve pitching yourself as a partner, or going into chat rooms and talking about yourself, or posting. Even when you're posting on LinkedIn, you're going to be talking about yourself. So practice makes perfect, but you'll need to, get used to that idea. And the other thing that you'll need to get used to is the idea that you're going to be rejected a lot. And that is part of the game, and it sucks. Whether you're sending out pitches or whether you're posting something on LinkedIn and it gets 2 likes and it totally flops, these things sting. They make you feel vulnerable. They make you feel shame. And there's no shame in feeling shame when that happens. However, if you can find a way to get over that and, feel the pain and then move on from it. The reason I say make the most out of every rejection is because every time somebody says no to you, every time a post doesn't succeed, it's an opportunity for you to figure out what didn't work and push it further. So every time somebody rejects me, whether it's a partnership proposal, whether it's a guest blogging, whether it's a total pitch for my services, I will take a moment to feel my feelings, and then I will get back to them and say, hey, just wanted to know, is there anything I could have done that would have made you change your mind, or anything that you were looking for that you didn't get? And that is the most valuable feedback you could possibly get, because it's basically someone telling you, if you'd done this, then you would have been successful. So get used to the idea that you need to reply to rejections. You can't just run and hide in shame, and get used to get comfortable talking about yourself, because those are really the only ways forward. Okay, once you have the mindset stuff, what actual channels can you use to make yourself findable? First, I want to talk about partnerships. This is my personal favorite way to build name recognition quickly if you're a freelancer. I'm going to get a bit meta here and talk about this partnership that I'm doing right now with Moxie. This is beneficial for both me and Moxie. I'm here to help their audience learn new things. And for me, it's getting me in front of people before So when you're looking for partnerships, there's certain things that you want to look for in order to find the right fit. And before you start, you really need to be creating something that is worth sharing. So I'm sure that Austin and Michelle can back me up. I get about 1 million emails a day from people asking me to join some sort of partnership with them or collaborate with them. And 99% of them I don't even open. I just delete. And the reason I do that is because they don't come to the table with anything. They just expect me to do all of the work. You can't go that way. When I asked Michelle if I could do a partnership with her, I talked about, here are the 3 different topics I want to talk about. Here's why I think they'd be valuable for your audience, and it showed them that I'm a user of Moxie, that I'm actually interested, that I've been doing my research and doing my homework, and that I have something of value to bring to the table. This could also be a blog that you've already written that you're shopping around, come to people and say, I've already got this blog written, or I have these 4 ideas for a blog already written. Or maybe you've made a checklist or some sort of valuable piece of content, but you need to come forward and say, I've got this thing and I know it's valuable for your specific audience, not just I made this thing, I'm sharing it, but I've tailored, here's why it matters for your audience. That's going to get you way more responses than if you're just sending out generic messaging. And then when you're looking for people, you want to look for 2 things. Basically, they need to have a bigger audience than you, and they need to have an audience that overlaps with your own. Otherwise, there's probably no point in doing it. You'll either be talking to the wrong people or you won't be talking to enough people. So keep that in mind. When you're looking for partnerships, I highly recommend using Apollo AI. This is a new tool that I've been using. It's free right now. Probably won't be free for long. It's a great tool to have installed as a Google Chrome extension. Basically, what it does is whenever you're on a website, you can click the extension and it will give you the names and LinkedIn profiles of people who work at that company. Or you can use the full tool where you go in and you type in names, or you type in job titles, or you type in business names, and it will spit out a list of people you could potentially contact. So that is how I find partnerships. It's a really, really good tool, allows you to save lists. And this is way faster than SEO if you do this. It's way faster way to build your audience, to get your name out in front of people, and to just have something to, as part of your reputation. This, as I do this presentation, will be something I use to kind of show off in the future and be like, I did this webinar, it was on this subject, and people will find that useful. And then the last thing is just make sure that the emails that you're sending are really, really personalized. Again, don't do the big generic mail outs. Spend the time that you would do copy and pasting, just doing your research, coming up with a unique angle, or finding a good way to reply to somebody. And get their interest. One of my favorite things to do, this is like a little sneaky trick, is subscribe to someone's email address. So subscribe to their newsletter rather, and read it and enjoy it, and then reply to one of those emails. Because as someone who sends out a newsletter, I can tell you I mostly don't get responses from my audience. I love when I do. I always read them. It's just part of an ego thing. But doing that is basically taking that one step and already saying, hey, I'm already a subscriber. I'm already following you. I'm already reading you, and I'd like to partner. Way more likely to get a response than if you were to just send a generic, email out of the blue. Then the other way that I really encourage people to make themselves findable is by finding communities where people you want to talk to are already gathered and just engaging in them. There are so many different communities out there that allow you to do this kind of thing. I've listed the channels there. My personal favorite ones are on Slack. I also am a huge Reddit nerd, but Discord, LinkedIn, and X all have different varieties of groups that you can join where people are posting and commenting every single day. And honestly, the way that I've built up name recognition for myself is just to be in there all the time, answering questions, giving my insights, asking questions, commenting on other people's questions. That is the number one way to make yourself appear helpful and to, basically skip the line, block out the noise, because you're getting into a community of people who are already looking for someone like you. And that's half of the job of making yourself findable, is figuring out who's actually looking for you. And these communities have done it. Here's an example from Slack channel that I'm in. This person was looking for some SEO report. You can see that I didn't get this job because I wasn't fast enough. But even just having my name and my email address here means that this person and everyone else who's read this, which there's thousands of people in this community, they know my name, they know my email address, and they know what I do. And it took me about 20 seconds to do this. If you do that every day across a few different channels for a while, people are going to know your name and they're going to remember who you are. And that's a huge part of being findable, because hopefully the next time this person or anybody thinks I need some SEO and content help, they can think, I remember that guy, Liam, he said something in Slack. I'm going to go find that chat. I'm going to go find him. Done the work for me, right? I don't have to worry about, making anything optimized for search. It doesn't involve SEO at all. It just involves being there and being present. Same thing on LinkedIn over here. I have a alert set up on my phone. Every time there's a new post in the subreddit for SEO, I get a notification. And if it's interesting to me, I'll go in, I'll hop in, I'll answer some questions, and then I'll provide some of my resources. You don't want to be overly promotional in any of these channels, because that's a really good way to get banned. But providing good information, providing good feedback to people, answering questions, and then gently, as you can see here, pushing your services really, really does help. I've gotten 2 clients this year off of Reddit just by doing this kind of a thing. And again, those people found me. They were reading the Reddit threads because they were interested in it, and then they DM'd me. So this is a really good way to make yourself findable online. And then I can't talk about making yourself findable without talking about LinkedIn. This is the #1 channel I've used to get clients over the years. I used to hate LinkedIn. I thought it was just like a place to go and brag about yourself. I completely changed my tune. I love it now. I post 3 or 4 times a week, and it is the #1 driver for new clients. And really, that's just, I even had a cringe moment the other day where my friends were talking about my LinkedIn posts at a bar. And I was like, oh, you're not the people who are supposed to see these. But it just goes to show that like posting on LinkedIn really does make you findable, because even people I don't want finding my LinkedIn posts are finding them at this moment, which is good, generally, as long as they don't be too mean. So a few things about using LinkedIn. The #1 key is just making consistent, helpful posts. I do want to pause here. You might be wondering, why is he talking about this? This doesn't have anything to do with SEO. Wrong, it does. Search engine optimization is not just about Google. It is about any website that has a search bar. And when you start to think about it, like every website has a search bar. Amazon, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, they all have search bars. And if you're not out there providing content and letting people know what you do, what your expertise in, what you talk about, then anytime people are searching on those websites, you're not going to show up in the search results. So posting consistent, and I say helpful posts, and by that I mean free information, no expectations required, just good step-by-steps. Here's how to do this. Here's how I solve this problem. Here's a thing that you can try that I would recommend. Those are the kinds of posts that do well. And those are the kinds of people, those are the kinds of posts that will make you findable. In addition to that, filling out your profile on LinkedIn is key. Again, you want to be showing up in searches. And if you have one line about who you are and you haven't put in any of your old jobs in there, and you've never really filled with your job title on there, well, then you're just never going to show up in the LinkedIn search and not be very findable. So filling out your profile is really key. And the key to it is, it feels a little bit awkward because you might think of LinkedIn as like a virtual resume, but it's not. It's really more of a promotional page. So I see a lot of people who write a LinkedIn profile and they'll say, my name is Liam. I'm an SEO specialist. I live here. I do this. I do that. Fine if you don't want to be findable. If you want to be findable and actually have people engage with your profile, then you need to tailor it so that you're talking to your ideal audience. So if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll see that it says, my name is Liam. I help X clients do X by X. And then I'll say, this is a service I offer, and here's how it works, and here's the results you can expect. This is another service. Here's how it works, and here's the results you can expect. Everything is talking to the reader. The idea is that as people are reading your LinkedIn profile, they should be thinking, that sounds like me. That's something that I want. And therefore, they're much more likely to contact you. If you treat it like a resume where you're just talking about yourself, you're not going to get much traction. So highly recommend thoroughly filling that out. And the more you fill it out, the more likely you are to show up in searches. Another little algorithm thing that you need to do, consistent posting is key. If you stop posting for even a week on LinkedIn, the algorithm is going to punish you. It's not a very forgiving algorithm. So in addition to posting a few times every week, you also, this is something you can do, interact with people before and after you post. This is no secret. Everybody knows that this works on pretty much every social media channel. But for me, my traditional LinkedIn strategy is I spend about 30 to 45 minutes commenting and liking on people's posts. Then I post my posts, and then I do another 30 to 45 minutes commenting, liking, following, resharing. That just, for some reason, the algorithm just likes to do that kind of a thing. And even when I'm not planning on posting, I will often just, for 15 minutes in the morning, or if I'm on my commute, I'll just open up LinkedIn, I'll like and comment and follow people just to let the algorithm know that I'm alive and well. And that definitely will help you make sure that you're showing up in more LinkedIn searches. And then finally, again, just don't be discouraged by flops on LinkedIn. I have a lot of people saying, like, I tried LinkedIn, I got 7 likes, and it was really embarrassing, and I don't want to post anymore. I post 3 or 4 times a week, and I would say about 70% of my posts don't go anywhere. But those 30% that do are the ones that, really feel good. That being said, I've also had clients message me and tell me, I've read every single post you've ever written on LinkedIn. And they've never commented, they've never liked, but now they want to pay me. And so even the flops might be doing some of the heavy lifting for you. And just keep that in mind. You're building a portfolio of insights, and there are people out there who will go on your portfolio and read everything you've ever written and then contact you. So, don't stop just because your posts aren't going viral. They will eventually, you will get 1 or 2 that will go viral, and it will be largely up to the algorithm which ones do. But you can keep testing, keep trying, because it does work. Okay, I'm running out of time, so I don't have a ton of different more channels to go through, but I did just want to make a quick pitch. I have a lead generation guide on my website. It's got 50 pages. It's 9 different channels. It goes through all of my favorite channels for making myself findable online. It's $75, I think, right now, but I'm giving a 10% discount to anybody who's watching this right now. You can see the code right there. It also comes with a bunch of email templates. I know I was just talking about don't send generic emails, and that's not what these templates do. They kind of guide you using examples of real emails that I've sent. This is how you make it personalized. This is how you make it engaging. And then you write the emails yourself. It's not a copy and paste experience. So if you want, check that out. I'll go into way more detail in there about how to find leads and turn yourself into a lead magnet so that people are finding you rather than you having to go out and hunt them down, which is the dream for every freelancer. Okay, I know we're running out of time, so I do want to just recap some of the things I said, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. But first, I just want to make sure you know that this stuff that I'm talking about, it may sound easy, may sound, how hard is it to get out there and post on LinkedIn? It is a vulnerable experience, and it is an experience that is hard for a lot of people. So I just wanted you to know you're not alone if you're feeling like, I feel so nervous about getting my website live or posting. I don't know how to do SEO. It's so overwhelming to me, and I don't know if I'm any good at it. It's hard, and don't feel bad about feeling vulnerable. It just is a matter of getting over that and trying to find a way to move forward, even though it feels a little bit uncomfortable. The other big thing I talked about is making sure that you've got a home base that really showcases who you are. So once it's live, then your time is spent on tweaking it, improving it, and just making it really show who you are and what you do. But if you don't have a high functioning singular digital home base, then it's going to be very hard to make yourself findable. So that should be step number 1. And the last thing is, once you have that showcase, then it's time to choose, I would say, 1 to 3 channels that you're going to focus on as putting yourself forward and saying, this is who I am, and this is, going to get me in front of the people that I want to be in front of. So that can be any number of social media. It can be the different Slack channels and Discord channels that I was talking about. But whatever it is, you want to be going in there, creating content, and constantly talking about yourself. The internet is unforgiving. It's hard to take breaks. Once you get the hang of it, you can certainly schedule yourself breaks by using scheduling tools, which I highly recommend. But taking a break, unfortunately, the internet is not going to let you. So just be consistent with it. Use the right channels where your audience is already congregating, so you don't have to hunt people down, but they can find you instead. And just stick with it. Try different things. Eventually, I promise you, it will happen, but not until you get started. So remember, search optimization is about way more than just showing up on Google. It's about showing up on all the different channels where people are searching for you. And you need to figure out where are those channels. And then you just need to start creating content, because all search algorithms rely on content in order to deliver search results. So if you're not putting out any content that's telling people who you are, what you do, and what your expertise is, then people are never going to find you. It doesn't have to be highly search optimized blogs. It can be posts on LinkedIn or any other channel that you want, but it has to be consistent, has to be clear, and it has to be high quality. I'm going to wrap there just so we have time for some questions. But I just wanted to share a few more links. If you want to join my mailing list, I send out SEO and freelancing advice all the time. So feel free to join there. I've also got a ton of free resources. The SEO checklist that I mentioned is on there for free, but there's also things like my tech stack for freelancers and a bunch of other stuff. So if you want some freebies, go check that out. And even though Austin said no dumb questions, I love dumb questions about SEO. So please don't ever hesitate to contact me if you've got SEO questions. I'm a total nerd. I could talk about it forever. And same thing with freelancing or anything I talked about today. I answer every email that comes to me. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And I think at this point, I'm going to stop sharing and we can open it up for questions about anything I talked about.
Love it. I love this question. As you are making yourself findable, do you have any tips for hiding from your corporate job?
Yeah, right. That's a funny question. When I started freelancing, I was like hiding in the back corner of my office, building my website on company dime. Don't tell anybody. So with LinkedIn, there is a setting that you can use that will block people from certain companies from seeing any changes you make or any content you make. I'm pretty sure you can Google that and find out what that is. I can't remember exactly. With the other stuff, you know, it's going to be hard if you're really out there pushing yourself. Don't talk about it at work and have an answer in your back pocket if your boss does confront you. I put in my notice and then I started doing all of this stuff. So that's my answer.
I love that. How do you find the channels where you think potential clients could be hanging out?
Yeah, really good question. So there's a couple things that I would recommend. The first is so much of it is down to you because, to be honest, all the channels I mentioned about chats, social media, search engine optimization, your clients or potential clients are already there on all of those different channels. So you can really choose any one you want. The bigger question, I think, is what are you actually going to be consistent with? If you hate Twitter, then don't choose Twitter as your channel, even if you think it's where all of your clients are, because it's more important that you're out there doing stuff every single day than it is that you're in exactly the right channel at exactly the right time. So choose what you're going to be able to stick with, what you actually enjoy doing. I actually enjoy LinkedIn. I never thought I would, but I really enjoy it. So that's why I've chosen it as my main channel. And I would recommend experimenting, but within reason. So if you experiment for a month on LinkedIn, you're going to give up because it's probably a good chance that in the first month, you won't have any posts that do anything for you. I would recommend sticking with it for 3 months before you give up or 4 months before you give up, because it does take some time for these things to gin up. So worry less about your clients are using every social media platform out there and they are Googling as well. So you don't really need to worry about those channels. It's more about what are you going to stick with that matters.
I love that. You said 1,000 to 1,400 words for a blog post is best. What about for LinkedIn posts?
Longer posts also perform better on LinkedIn. And listen, let me make a disclaimer here. Everything I'm saying about every algorithm, including Google's, is like total guesswork based on experimentation from people within my industry. So they do not release the rules about their algorithm. But from what I can tell you based on my own research and based on what I've learned, is that longer posts do perform better on LinkedIn. You hit, I think it's an 1,800 character count, or no, it's closer to 3,000 character count. Most of my posts go all the way to that count. I also find that for some reason, sharing media doesn't work as well. So pictures and video, those posts, for some reason, they just don't perform as well. Long form text posts seem to perform the best. The reason long posts and lots of content work is because you are essentially providing context to search algorithms when you write. And longer content is easier for search algorithms to understand. This is true for Google and every other search algorithm. So the longer your post is, the more you can cover it in depth, the more the algorithm is going to be able to interpret exactly what you're talking about and therefore put you in more search results.
So good. What's your perspective on the viability of outsourcing SEO and social media as a solopreneur?
Yeah, so I personally use a virtual assistant to do a lot of my social media work, but when I use them, I write a LinkedIn post, and then my assistant, she will then jig it for different social platforms or turn into a blog for me. So everything I write is my own thought and my own, my thought leadership. It's just that I hire someone to do the dirty work of actually getting it live and repurposing it for different channels. When it comes to SEO, yeah, you can outsource it. It's going to be expensive. I mean, a really good SEO specialist, I mean, this is my livelihood, right? So it's not cheap. And this is why I work mostly with businesses, because, medium-sized businesses, because they actually have the budget. If you have budget, you've got a few $1,000s that you just want to try. Certainly hiring someone to, it's complicated. There's many different tasks involved. When it comes to like technical SEO, for example, that's making sure that your website works perfectly, and is optimized for search. That's kind of a one and done for a lot of people, right? You build a website, then you get an SEO specialist in there, you have them fix everything up, and then ideally they should be able to step away, and the website should run more or less okay on its own. That's the kind of thing that you definitely could outsource. If you want to hire someone to like run your SEO content strategy, that's a much bigger investment, because you need to be churning out 3 or 4 pieces of high quality content. Anybody who's in here who's an SEO, who's a writer at all, knows that people try to lowball you. And, we don't want to do that as freelancers to other freelancers. And if you want the high quality stuff, it's going to be expensive. Also, you should really be putting your own thoughts out there. So whether you're briefing somebody on your own thoughts, but it should be your expertise and your insights that you're doing. It can be done, but don't expect it to be cheap, would be my answer.
Oh, so good. Okay, I'm going to try to get to these two as quick as we can. Okay, I am a web designer, marketer, and work with children's book authors who often provide services for other authors. They often want to put both books and services on one site for ease. Do you recommend this? And if not, what guidance would you provide?
So they offer services for authors, and then they offer their own books. I would recommend in that case splitting them up. Well, again, these answers are they're complicated, but essentially I've kind of screwed up my own website, right, by doing both freelance and SEO on the same website. But I have such an old website that its power is strong enough to kind of withstand that. If you're starting from scratch, if your website is pretty young, I would say do 2 websites, because you're going to have to build them both up anyway. And it's best to just keep those things separated, right? You have one that's about your services and one that's about books, because Google kind of likes to assign one meaning to a website. There could be a million different things under that meaning, but like, for me, it used to be that Google knew I was an SEO person. And yeah, I talked about content marketing, I talked about technical audits and backlinking, but all that falls under the umbrella of SEO. And Google loves that when it's like, I know exactly what this website is about. If it's like, I don't know if this website's about book publishing or these children's books, it's going to get confused, and it's going to not put as many searches going your way. The only exception would be if they have a really powerful SEO website that's already performing really well. Starting from scratch is going to take a lot longer, so they might want to consider just really neatly separating those on the website.
Love that. I feel like this has a much longer answer, but I'll just tease it. We'll just have to have you back. Which is, does AI play a role in your work?
Oh God, yes. Yes. So many ways. AI is in some ways making my job better, in some ways making my job worse. There are people out there who seem to think that they can get high quality SEO content out of ChatGPT, which you really can't unless you've already written it. That being said, I use ChatGPT to structure my content, to rewrite parts of my content. On my website, I have a blog that is ChatGPT prompts for freelancers. And these are all the ones that I've been using to like re-optimize posts, to reshare, to turn one piece of content into 5 different pieces of content. I don't ever recommend using ChatGPT or really any of the other AI tools out there to write content from scratch, because you're going to get crapola. But if you use it as like, I think of it as like a really, really smart and inexperienced assistant. That's how I use my ChatGPT.
Ooh, I love that. So good. Well, we are just a bit over time, so I'll close things out here. But that was incredible. Thank you so much for a really understandable way to think about SEO and also like kind of building all of those pieces up. So incredible. And we absolutely will have to have you back for the other 2 topics you pitched to us.
Hey, my pleasure. It's been so nice chatting with you all. And again, anyone can reach out to me anytime on my website, inkwellcontent.com, or just on LinkedIn as well. That's where you'll find me.
Awesome. And I'll make sure I include all of those links and the presentation, as well as a link to this recording in the replay. So watch your email box probably tomorrow. I'm going to do my best, folks, but it'll probably be tomorrow.
Fair enough.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, and hope
Yeah.
everyone has a great couple of weeks. We'll see you
Thanks,
soon.
Michelle. Thanks, Austin. Bye-bye.
Bye.